Power posture. Hey y'all, today we are talking about how to easily remove pain and help move pain out of the body at home, or you can do some of these things in the gym. And to help me out here, I have the lovely Dr. Missy Albrecht, who is a doctor of physical therapy, and she's just going to run us through some different mobilization exercises that are going to help with pain that's typical. So a lot of people have knee pain, hip pain, back issues, shoulder pain, things like that. We're also going to touch a little bit on abdominal mobility and things of that nature that are going to help with all areas of pain, no matter where you have them in the body. And like I said, these are all things that you can do at home. There's some simple tools that you can get from Amazon or your local sporting goods store. Most of you already have one of the Coregeous balls because you've been doing your abdominal massage. So we're going to utilize that as well. So a lot of these tools, very simple, cheap things that you can get really easily. So don't let getting something be a deterrent to actually doing this. These are definitely things that are going to benefit you and that you're going to want to do so that you are pain and injury free. So I'm going to let Dr. Missy just take it away and teach us what we need to know.
Cool. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
All right. So as a physical therapist, I deal with a lot of people who have pain. And just before we get into a lot of the rolling stuff, what I'd like to do is just kind of talk about the different pieces that go into an injury and go into pain. So you have your traditional kind of musculoskeletal issues, so maybe injury to the muscle, the nerve, the connective tissue, the joint, anything in that area. And that's what we're going to address with some of these tools. But there's also, I want you to think of kind of a bigger scheme of things. So one of my favorite quotes here, which is actually on the back of my wall here, it's not the load that breaks you down, it's how you carry it. So, when you're working with someone like Erin or someone like myself, and you're working with us for an hour, but what are you doing the other 23 hours of the day? How are you treating your body? How are you holding it? How are you sleeping, squatting, standing and sitting from a chair? A lot of us tend to get into this kind of attitude posture where we're here, and a lot of that you just end up undoing all the hard work you did to make your tissue healthy. So that's a huge thing to be aware of, further educate yourself on, or work with a practitioner to improve that, or a skilled coach would be awesome too. And then the other piece is internal environment. So I know you guys are working with Erin on the internal environment, and I just want to stress the importance of what you consume and how that affects your tissue health. So if you imagine your muscle and your tissue to be like a sponge, when we are mobilizing, we are literally compressing the tissue, and when you compress it, you're going to push out the bad stuff. That's what we're trying to kind of get rid of. And then when you let go like a sponge, it's going to draw in the nutrients that we want. So if your external environment surrounding that tissue is unhealthy, so it's dehydrated, lots of sugar and inflammatory foods that you're consuming, it's not going to benefit your tissue. So rolling is not going to be, it's going to only help you get so far. So really making sure that your internal environment is honed in. Listen to Erin, she's a smart woman. And so now we'll get into the mobility piece. So let's start with just general soft tissue stuff. So I have a lacrosse ball here. And again, what we're doing is you are flushing out the tissue. And a lot of times we've all been through, stressful periods or times where we've eaten poorly, and your muscles and tissue start to become like a beef jerky type consistency. So you can't think of rolling one area is going to solve everything. We're trying to rebuild the tissue so that pain, that nervous system can start to calm down, and that pain can kind of normalize and go away. So the first one I would say is shoulder issues. A lot of people have. And a lot of it stems from, we'll just call it this chunk of muscle here up in the neck. You've got your upper trap, you've got a lot of your neck muscles here, your scalenes in the front, which get junky. But deep down is your first rib, and that is a huge pain causer for headaches, shoulder issues, neck issues, even kind of upper back stuff. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this lacrosse ball and you're gonna put it in the meat of your neck here. And there's two ways we can do this. First one is just gonna be leaning up against a wall. This feels amazing. And I'm just gonna try to lean my body in, and I can either move my head side to side, or I can add a little bit of movement with my arm like that. If that's not enough pressure, what we can do is we can head down to the ground and get that same spot here. And I can add my arm again, I can add my neck, and then I can also add some extra pressure this way. That would be like the most intense, painful. So just to briefly, these are kind of the rules that I go over my patients with when you're doing mobility stuff like this. Any numbness or tingling, you're gonna move. So either that tissue is not ready to be pressurized that much, so you can go to the wall and take some of that pressure off, or lack of quality breathing. So if I'm laying down here and I'm like, yes, this is really working my shoulder, it's okay if I can't breathe because I'm in so much pain, your body is not going to respond in a beneficial way. It's going to think it's in danger, and it's actually going to tense up even more. So focusing on your breathing into your belly, rib cage, and chest so that your body can actually relax into what you're doing. Cool? Okay. Next one we're going to do is the pec. So this, just because of the nature of us being on our phones, on the computer, just slouching in general, this is a good area to focus on opening up for any shoulder issues, especially because of all the nerves running in here. There's a lot of pain associated with just having this shoulder sitting forward. So what we're going to focus on is underneath this collarbone and right into the shoulder, and we're actually going to hop over to this doorway here. So the doorway is really nice because I can lean, this is going to be awkward, I can lean here, and then I can move my arm like this. Come out to the side, come up, even coming back here and just trying to roll around, up and down, side to side. It starts to be very natural, and it's not rocket science. So you can really freestyle. Once you get comfortable, you don't have to stay right where I'm telling you. Just listen to your body and move slowly. So as I'm rolling out my pec, if I'm just going as quick as I can, I'm actually activating the muscle, which, you know, for your glutes and stuff, that's a good thing. But when we're trying to relax the tissue, you want to think nice and slow, controlled movement to really get that muscle to relax. So that's shoulder. We got neck. Thoracic spine. So thoracic spine is base of your neck to the base of your rib cage. And this area is, I mean, from an energy standpoint, there's a lot of awesome stuff in there, but it's also the shock absorber of our body. So if we're stuck in this kind of forward posture, flexed position and not able to open up just for standing, but then you add exercise and lifting things, it can start to strain things like your shoulder and your lower back. So this is an area that we really want to keep opening up, especially for breathing quality. So what we're going to use, this is, I love the yoga tune-up balls. This is just 2 balls in a little tote bag, but you can take 2 lacrosse balls, 2 tennis balls, and put it in a sock. You just want them right next to each other. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay on the ground with them like this. So my spine is running in between the 2 balls. So I will use my hands to support my head here. And what I can do is I can roll back and forth, really paying attention to my breathing. You'll probably get some awesome pops along the way. And then just to add a little bit of movement. So I can lift my hips if I find a really tight spot and want to work that. I can give myself a big bear hug, so get the shoulder blades out of the way. Add a little bit of rocking side to side. And then I can also add those arms overhead if I'm really working on a shoulder issue. Yeah, so that's an awesome one for the thoracic spine.
I love that one.
Yes. And just to kind of go through a little bit of time prescription for all of these things, you want to make sure working each spot about 2 to 3 minutes is awesome. And Erin and I didn't talk too much about this before, but I usually give people a kind of realistic goal of doing like 10 to 15 minutes a day. Does that sound like a good kind of goal?
Yeah.
Because if you expect yourself to do all of this every day, you're probably going to stop in like 1 or 2 weeks because you're like, I just don't have enough time to do that. So pick a few things. Don't work each spot every day. But the thoracic spine is a big area, so you could do maybe 2 or 3 spots a day and then pick different ones each day and just kind of keep moving on that. All right. Let's move on to the gut. So you guys are already rolling on this bad boy. The thing I want to mention with this, because you guys are doing this with Erin from more of a nutritional standpoint to make sure organs are working properly. The other really cool thing with this is for any lower back pain, it is amazing. And I'll say actually just pain in general, because when we roll out our abdominal area, you turn on your parasympathetic system, which is that rest and relaxation. So any patients who have lower back pain or just pain in general, getting in the habit of rolling on this a couple minutes a day just tells your body to completely relax and not think of that pain. Think of that pain more as a message rather than this traumatic thing that you just have to tense up around. But for lower back, it also helps with the hip flexor. So hip flexor goes from the inside of your hip all the way up to your diaphragm, so right at the base of the rib cage. So just by laying on this, I can feel my breakfast. And I can also start to just kind of feel my body start to relax on it. So if you have, this is usually very uncomfortable for people in the beginning. So, maybe 20 seconds is all you can do. But once you start to get comfortable with it, you can roll side to side, up and down, take some deep breaths and just really let your body sink onto the ball. This, I would say, just to be on the safe side, make sure you don't do it before a workout. So this is more of that relaxing post-recovery, I'm in pain, or you just want to sleep well. This is a really good one to go to help you pass out. Okay. The next one that we're going to target is the hips. So we've done soft tissue stuff. We've done some like muscle. We've done some joint with the balls here too, but we're going to do joint work with the band. So the purpose of the band is a lot of our joints, especially our hip joint. So if this was my hip socket and this is the top of my leg bone, what happens when the muscles start to get really tight is they start to get kind of jammed into each other. So when we're trying to move, walk, run, squat, whatever, it doesn't move as well. And so what the band is going to do is it's going to create some space in that hip joint. So if you are having pain, that space, what it's going to do is it's going to start to draw fresh blood and nutrients into that area to start healing whatever's going on in there and just start to nourish the joint so that when you're moving, it can actually, it's kind of like a WD-40. that the right thing? WD-40?
Yeah.
Spray.
Yeah.
For the hinges in the door.
I feel like my knees need that.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So that's why we like to do stretching with the band rather than just plain stretching. So this is a nice one to be able to do if you are at a gym or you have something you can tie this to. Do not tie this to a chair, but this is what you would do. You would just loop it through something sturdy. But this one we can also attach it to ourselves. So I'm gonna loop this around, and just depending on how long your legs are, that's how many times you'll loop it. I'm gonna do 2 here. And then this band is gonna go as high up into my hip joint as I possibly can. And then I'm just gonna lay down like this, and I can start just by hugging this knee in towards my chest. So the band is creating space in my hip socket, and then I pull in and then try to straighten as much as I can. So this is like a super hamstring stretch. It's also starting, some people will feel it kind of pulling on the hip flexor here too, which is awesome. I can even kind of come across this way. Depending on your flexibility, if you need another strap, you can definitely use another strap. And this is that
Or a
same-
towel.
Or a towel, perfect. This is that same kind of 2 minutes, just to get some movement.
How tight are you pulling that band?
You want a good amount of tension on it.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to feel, it's a different kind of feeling when you feel the shift in the joint, but you want to feel some tug.
Okay.
Excellent for knee pain, mostly for, just because especially when you're dealing with something with the knee, you want to look at the joint above and below just to make sure if the hip's not working properly, that could be putting more strain on the knee.
Mhm.
So working the hip like that will help a ton, but also for lower back, because that same idea of looking above and below will help a ton. Okay, so hip with the band. My other favorite hip stretch is the couch stretch. And the purpose for this one is because we spend so much time in this 90-degree angle, what happens is our hip flexors literally and our quads start to just get jammed into each other. And so then you try and stand up and you try and stand up tall, but you're so tight here that you end up having to arch to be able to counteract that. And then you get extra strain on joints and stuff. So,
Which can cause some knee pain too, for sure.
yes, especially from the kneecap getting compressed.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of issues with that. So the couch stretch is called the couch stretch because you can do it in a chair or in a couch. I'll actually show it first in the chair here. So the idea is the typical quad stretch is grab on here and hang out. And what happens is because our body, there's a 3-point stretch rule. You want to have 3 points on the ground for your joint to actually let go and feel the stretch. And we also have the tendency to kind of twist and not be as focused on this area. So using a chair like this helps you to balance, and then you can just kind of hold on to the side, squeeze your butt and your belly, and get a nice direct stretch on your quad here. I can have my feet flipped here or flipped this way. And if you don't feel it, you can just kind of keep cruising back towards the back of the couch. What you don't want to do is go so far back that in order to come up, I have to arch my back. So this is probably too far for me. I would have to back up a little bit, squeeze my butt and my belly, and then I can really kind of feel it on here. And then if you want to be a little bit more intense, or if you don't have a chair nearby, you can just grab some padding and get the same effect on the ground, like that.
Beautiful.
Cool. So the more I would say 2 minutes per side, but the more you sit, I think the more you should do that one.
Mm-hmm.
Erin asked me for my favorite mobility exercises, and now the list is getting longer.
It's good stuff.
Yes. So the last two that we're going to work on is going to be quads and feet. So we've stretched our quads, but rolling out the quads, especially for knee issues, is huge. Our society, again, because we spend so much time sitting, our butt falls asleep and we end up being very quad dominant movers. So we need to take that quad beef jerky tissue and create a more nutrient dense environment by getting that massage. So you can use a foam roller for this. You can also use your lacrosse ball. And the goal is just to get one leg on whatever tool you have and just make sure that you're rolling around in different directions. So when I see people on a foam roller, they just kind of go up and down really quickly and stop. This, you want to make sure that you're rolling onto the inside, to the outside. Bending the knee is just going to add a little bit of tension. I would say especially with cranky knees to get the ball instead of the foam roller so you can really circle around that kneecap because that's usually a junky area for knee pain. And again, our quad is a massive muscle and it's 4 muscles put together. And what happens is they become one chunk because of that beef jerky like consistency. So you're trying to, that's why you want to think of different angles to be rolling and be moving around so that you can kind of cover that whole area. And then the last one is our feet. So our feet are our foundation. So especially because we spend a lot of time in shoes with a ton of support or maybe heels, it's extremely important to wake up this tissue, ideally before working out, but just I would say as a daily routine would be amazing. So taking a ball and just being able to slowly work, think of the area. So this is actually good because I was just walking on the gym floor and you can see the dirty part that was hitting the floor. You want to work the area that doesn't touch the floor. So you can see that white area. So I can roll back and forth like this. And then I can also drop my heel down and work. It's working one of the arches in your feet, but it's also getting a nice calf stretch. So this is a really good one because kind of like the thoracic spine was a shock absorber, our feet are also shock absorbers for our body. So any lower back or knee issues, getting this tissue to move properly will take some of the brunt of any impact that you're doing so that your knee doesn't have to be the only thing that's being jarred with any running or walking like that. So give your feet some love.
I've done that before with like a golf ball. Can you do that or do you not recommend that?
I do recommend that.
Okay.
Nope. So usually because our feet have 33 bones in them, doing a softer ball is nice. So that's why I like these because what you'll see is my foot can literally kind of splay over the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the golf ball allows
Okay.
for a little bit more because it's smaller. So you can kind of fold over. The only challenge is it's way more painful.
Yeah.
But I like the golf ball. But whatever kind of tool you have. So any other spots that you wanted me to target? I would say those are my...
No, I think that's fabulous.
Okay.
Yeah. So now everyone has tools of different things that they can hit to help just feel better, have less aches and pains. It also kind of helps to energize you because you're breathing through those movements and getting fresh oxygen to the cells in the brain. So this is a good thing to do. Like she said, a couple of minutes, spend 10 minutes on it a day. Just pick a couple areas that are really kind of bothering you that day and go from there.
It might take some time to get the habit into your life, but it's well worth it. And so huge when healing from injury, dealing with pain, and preventing that kind of stuff. So
Exactly.
get at it.
Thank you, Missy.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Anytime. Great information.
Bye.